Let the truck!
You are listening to What the Truck. Welcome, everybody. It's Friday to What the Truck. I'm Thomas Wasson, joined with Rob Carpenter. We're going to have a wonderful show today. We've got some headlines. We've got some guests. We've got a little bit of everything. Before we dive in, though, real quick, we would like to thank our sponsors, the folks at Truck Stop. Let's kick the video, and then I'm going to get the ad read. Kick it.
Spend less time searching and more time hauling loads with the Truck Stop Load Board. Find the right load at the right time to put more money in your pocket. Learn more today.
Definitely want to check them out. If you're ready to move more freight, make more money, and manage your freight business with speed and confidence, look to truckstop.com for tools that transform the way you move freight. You can learn more at truckstop.com. Now that we got that out of the way, I would like to introduce Rob. He is joining me today for the show. Rob, pleasure to get to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself, then we'll dive into the headlines.
Yeah, thanks for having me. A little bit of everything. We've been on here before. Obviously, truck driving, running business, owning businesses, and just looking to see where we go today.
Well, we're going to be going. We've got some fun stuff going. We've got a lot of news, whether it's planes, trains, or automobiles. Let's kick it over to the headlines real quick. The first one is talking about a DOT advisory board. So we're going to give you a little bit of a backstory. Back in early June, FreightWaves' John Gallagher wrote that trucking, rail, and Amazon are vying for seats on this DOT advisory board. The Teamsters also wanted to get a seat at the table. Sean O'Brien was seeking labor's voice on a new panel. There were over 50 nominations for this 10-person advisory board being set up by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The goal, of course, is to help overhaul freight and passenger infrastructure. And so fast forward a little bit, I'm going to get Rob's thoughts as well. They have, in fact, selected it, and we actually recently, as of Wednesday, found out the results. Rob, tell us, what are we looking at here? Who are the winners, and is it planes, trains, or automobiles, or trucks in this case?
Well, this is kind of a funny deal, right? Because when we think infrastructure from my side, we're thinking truck drivers, right? And trucks and road highway transportation. But the funny thing about what was actually picked in these, of the 12 people who were put on this panel, most of them are actually from the air industry. So from my perspective, my first thought was, are we investing in some kind of air corridor versus focusing on highway transport corridor, right? So that was where my original thought went to. It was why so many people from the air industry when we're talking about infrastructure for all of transport, whether it's rail or highway transport or air. We've got a lot of air people represented here. So it's pretty weird for me, but I don't know if that means we're going to go more into the drone space, but that's really what the panel consists of. So I know that they had earmarked $275 million for truck parking, which is part of this panel committee. So I'm interested in seeing where that goes. So we'll see. But I think with parking, we've got one space for every 11 trucks. So we've got a parking issue.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how airline folks are going to handle that, but we'll see.
They're like, we need more plane parking. Probably.
That's it.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. The 12-person advisory board, FreightWaves' John Gallagher writes recently that Secretary Duffy is urging more American dollars to be invested in U.S. infrastructure. So he told that new group of advisors that were picked that they want to rely more on American investors to maintain and expand the country's transportation infrastructure. Secretary Duffy said during the first meeting at the DOT advisory board was that what we see in a number of our projects is an opportunity for private capital, but he adds it's frustrating because there's a lot of foreign private capital and it seems like pretty good returns that they're making on American infrastructure. It would be great if we could get more American private capital into American infrastructure and see how those returns go to American investors. I don't think he's been to Houston. I learned fun Houston facts. They have private toll roads, and like any good pyramid scheme. If you go to Houston, I swear to you, there's like 5 or 6 double deckers. When I was visiting Bot Auto, they were like, that one's a toll one, that one's a toll run. Maybe we just need to appoint the city of Houston to fix American infrastructure, and we will have bridges for days.
But is it just Houston, right? Because I'm in Virginia. So in Virginia Beach area, Hampton Roads, Washington, D.C., like we've got the same issue, right? So I don't think it's exclusive to Houston. So we've got toll foolishness everywhere. But I think one of the things that I liked about the whole infrastructure piece was the bridges part, because we've got a lot of decrepit bridges where I'm at. I mean, we've got like 43,000, I think, that were in the proposal to get kind of repaired or refurbished. So I think that's a good part of it.
Well, there's the underwater one near Hampton Roads. It's like leaking. I talked to a guy who was helping build it, and he was like, I'm not going under that. He's like, I got a buddy. I'm driving the dump truck, but I'm not going under that part or something like that. It's a thing.
Well, I don't mind it as much because I've been there my whole life. But my daughter, who's 14, she is not a fan. So I was like, hey, we're going to the Outer Banks, and it's like, no, we're not going through the tunnel. So you need to find another way. But we got a lot of them down there. I think we've got like 4 or 5. It's not just one. So
Oof. Well, we're going to build some more. Let's kick it in here. We got 2 more stories as well. The first one is the new Postmaster General has been announced. He's a former FedEx official, and his name is David Steiner. He officially took the helm of the U.S. Postal Service on Tuesday amid calls to pull the plug on his predecessor's restructuring plan and concerns that in some quarters that his previous role as FedEx could motivate outsourcing of parcel delivery. If you don't know how big the U.S. Postal Service is, the agency has over 533,000 employees, and they deliver 112.2 billion pieces of mail each year. One of the big challenges, though, he's facing is, unfortunately, riding an organization that is persistently losing money, including a projected $6.9 billion loss for the current fiscal year and degraded service related to said downsizing. Are we saving the post office? What's your thoughts? What's your read?
I mean, the post office has been kind of messed up for a long time. This is like Trump 2016 playbook. He did talk a lot about the U.S. Postal Service and how poorly run it was in his last administration. So I don't think you could have expected anything but this to happen. So are we going to save it? I don't know. I'm more on the side of maybe we should privatize it. But if we can make it work, we can make it work, and maybe paying him $300,000+ a year will help incentivize him to do a great job. Because I mean, one of the other headlines here is Barr's confirmation, right? And I think that role is only paying $161. So it's like it's a pretty drastic difference between one administrator role and the postal oversight role.
It is a recurring issue, and especially around the D.C. area, is making enough money. I spoke with Wiley Deck, and he said the same problem. They get congressmen, you get with their staffers. The staffers don't get paid enough. They leave after 3 years. You get another schmuck who's running it. And so, DC, I guess you guys need raises or something. Who would have thought? Who knows? But let's go to that. We've got that final story here, and that will also dovetail into one of our interviews. So the FMCSA nominee, Derek Barr, is talking about safety and enforcement plans. He told lawmakers that he sees English proficiency crackdown from a roadside inspector standpoint. And so this is really fascinating. I talked with you before the show about it. He has an enforcement background.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the good things about him. Partly one of the bad things about him coming from a trucker is he came from Florida Highway Patrol. So he is an enforcement guy. And one of the things we're going to talk about with Jim Mullins when he comes on in a few minutes, he was the administrator under Trump 1, is how friendly it was for carriers under that administration and under Jim Mullins' leadership there versus how it may be drastically different with an enforcement administrator, because Jim Mullins came from Werner. So you had a carrier background versus an enforcement background. So I think during that time, we really had a place where it was carrier friendly. Now we might be moving to a place where it's more enforcement.
Carrot or stick.
Carrot
well,
or stick.
Let's kick it. Meanwhile, here we've got 2 videos we found. You're very active on LinkedIn, so this one's very fascinating. Tell us a little bit about this first one here. It looks like there's brake failure. We're going to toss it up here on the screen. Let us dive in.
All right, yeah, so this is the one where this dump truck loses his brakes, and he actually does a really good job with this. And a lot of people pointed this out on LinkedIn because he didn't just decide to go barreling down the highway with no brakes. Once he recognized that he didn't have it, he took the tree out. So he was hoping that little tree was going to stop him. It did, but he got lucky because he wasn't moving fast. So brakes are important. Next month is CBSA brake safety week. So that's something to keep in consideration. Make sure you're checking your brakes. We're going to talk about this as well later with Ingrid Brown. So
DVIRs. I know drivers don't like to fill them out, but just like angry Santa Claus, your safety and compliance person is making that list and checking it twice. Do not get caught on the naughty list. Let's check it over to our second video here. This one looks really cool here. Let's tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, this is a UPS driver. It's up in Apex, New York, and he's basically parked on the side of the road like any other delivery driver is going to do. I actually got a ticket for this in Newport News, Virginia, and yeah, I did. And I beat it for this reason. I basically argued that UPS parks on the side of the road. Why can't I? But anyway, this guy runs into the back of this UPS truck, and he still delivers the package. So we're good.
Hey, if it works, it works. And just like Isaac Newton, you saw that UPS. What can Brown do for you? Well, in this case, Brown did not yield an inch. Take that, small motorist. You should have known what you're dealing with. Chad, let me know if you can hear us. We're going to ask you some questions here. Virginia State Representative / Delegate Chad Green. Chad, can you hear us, sir? See if
I can hear you. Can you hear and see me?
You're looking great. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Move a little more to your left. We'll get you in frame. Let's dive in here. So one of the things, the 100 Deadliest Days of Summer. Rob, tell us a little bit about what this is, and then we'll tee it off with Chad.
Yeah, so I think Chad has sponsored a couple of bills. He can talk about that in a second. I think he sponsored two and voted on all three. But in Virginia, we have, well, everywhere really, it's 100 Deadliest Days of Summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And two of the bills that Chad sponsored were really promoted on the premise of cutting that down for teen highway fatalities. So he can talk a little bit more about it, but really that's the goal of it. We had 2,100 teen driver deaths during the summer in the last decade, and there was a 12% spike in Virginia teen involved crashes. And there's one specifically I'll talk to Chad about when we get to that. But Chad, what can you tell us about why you sponsored the bills you did and why you voted for the other one?
Well, right now between Memorial Day and Labor Day is the deadliest time on the road for teen drivers. It is a very serious problem. One of my big issues is safety and keeping you safe, keeping your family safe. And whether you're Republican, independent, or whatever, you use the roads. We're all out there on the roads. It's a shared resource that we have. And it's to our best interest to have safe driving laws and programs that are out there to keep us all safe. The bill that we're speaking of makes it a crime, a misdemeanor, to knowingly give the keys to a unlicensed driver. This, unfortunately, was born out of a tragedy that we had in New York. There was a kid. He did not have a learner's permit. He did not have a driver's permit, yet his parents would give him the keys to the car, probably because they didn't want to be bothered taking him to school, taking him other places. And he got in a tragic car accident, left the homecoming dance back about 5 years ago with two other kids in the car, was speeding down a road going close to 100 miles an hour. I had lost control of the vehicle, hit a tree, and all three of the kids were killed. Very, very tragic situation.
Yeah, and I'm from Yorktown, so I can appreciate the bill. And the one of the people that were killed in this crash was Connor Guido. So a lot of people are calling this Connor's Law. I don't know if that's the technical description of it, but his mom, Tammy Guido, has kind of been the driver of a lot of highway accident litigation in Virginia. And so we wanted to have Chad on to talk about that during the 100 Deadliest Days of Summer. And can you tell us about the seatbelt law, Chad? There was a new one about seatbelts and the expected impact that's going to have on crashes.
Let me back up. This year there was some legislation that came through, and I voted against it. The governor ultimately vetoed it, but was allowed taking drivers online. And I just heard the last part of your segment. I don't think that there's any substitute for actually getting out there, getting on the roads and learning stuff. I think that anytime that you're taking online classes, there's the ability for you not to be paying the attention that you should. for people to be goofing off, for people to be playing games, not giving it the attention that it deserves, because it is literally life or death out there. So that was one of the bills that we were against. It ended up passing the General Assembly, but was vetoed by the governor. So I would look for that to come back next year. That's going to be one that I'm going to maintain opposition to because it's just such an important class. I don't think that we need to cheapen it by having online. So that was one of the bills we were really fighting this year. The other one is seatbelt usage in Virginia, and Bob, I know you're a resident of Virginia. We're at the lowest in the 70%. I'm going to say 71, 72% percentage of usage of seatbelts. That puts us the lowest state in the United States. The average seatbelt usage is somewhere around the 90, 91% range. So I'm going to sponsor a bill next year that will make seatbelt usage, it's already a crime, but make it a primary offense where law enforcement folks can pull people over and say, hey, you need to be wearing your seatbelt. Right now, they can, if they see you not belt, they can't pull you over. I'm going to sponsor some legislation to make that a primary offense and pull you over for it, and try to get that seatbelt usage up. Quite frankly, seatbelts save lives, and I think it's a good piece of legislation. Right now, if you're pulled over for, say, a speeding ticket, they can write you for not having a seatbelt on, but I'm going to make this more of an issue, and hopefully in the process we'll get the seatbelt usage up and save some lives out there.
Perfect, Jim. Really appreciate you hopping on the show as well and then working with us on this. If folks want to continue to learn more about not only the bills that you're working on, but get more general information about public safety and some of the legislation in Virginia, what's the best way to get more information?
You can always look at my Facebook page. It's Chad Green for Delegate. Also, we have you can contact our office anytime, and we have, of course, the websites virginia.gov, things like that. But really, the best way to do, we put a lot of information out on our Facebook page, so I would suggest going there.
Perfect. Really appreciate it, Chad. Thank you so much for hopping on the show. We're going to pick your brain again soon as well. Hopefully, we'll have some stuff to talk about with that legislation next year as well. Keep an eye out on it. Always amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll try to work on a better internet connection next time.
No worries. Chattanooga may be the gig city, but unfortunately, we are also prone sometimes to the internet randomly cutting out. And no, it is not a squirrel in the transformer box, people. But let's kick it over to our guest joining us by phone, Mr. Jim Mullins. Jim, let me know if you can hear us coming through here. Let's see if we can get you on.
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine now. I'm on the telephone.
Hey, Jim. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. I appreciate you coming on. We wanted to pick your brain a little bit since we've got a new FMCSA administrator coming into confirmation this week who started earlier in the week. You were obviously an administrator under Trump 1, and you came from a very different background than Derek Barr's. Can you tell us a little bit about how you may differ from him and how he's obviously going to differ from you coming from the enforcement background?
Yeah. Well, I'd say the commonality, though, is we both have experience in the trucking industry, which, right, wrong, or indifferent, isn't the norm there at FMCSA when a new administrator comes on board. So I think that's going to make the transition easier for the career staff there at FMCSA. It's going to make things easier, and things will get done more timely because of Derek's background. But you're right. I came from the fleet side, whereas Derek comes from the law enforcement side. So I think he will spend a good chunk of his time looking at the enforcement side, looking to make sure that law enforcement has the proper tools to enforce the regulations. As you know, the FMCSA's IT systems are pretty antiquated, and I know they're doing a lot of work to try to bring that up to speed. I know Derek wants to focus on some of those things. But I think there's really more similarities because of the background. I remember when I showed up as chief counsel originally at FMCSA, they had a big 3-ring binder for me. It was, 4 or 5 inches thick, and I didn't need that. And I don't think that Derek's going to need all of that background information out of it because of his knowledge, whether it's through CBSA, through chief of patrol, whether it's ATA, law enforcement task force. He's got a very good background for this role.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one of the things that I think, more concern about is the human resources element of the FMCSA. It's always been taxed for labor resources. And now we're looking at a lot of people taking buyouts, some actual pretty high up individuals taking buyouts. And then we have layoffs after that. So we're talking about a new administrator coming in under President Trump and taking over an agency with even more limited human resources than what you had when you were there. What do you think's the biggest challenge with that? Obviously, we've got 94% of our carriers without safety ratings, and there's a lot of people who've begun to focus on that. So where would you start to kind of take this and lead with that limited team that you would have? Yeah,
so I saw an article yesterday that FMCSA lost around 13% of its workforce since Trump resumed office. There's probably about 1,200, but you might guess 1,200 employees when the administration started in that ballpark. Probably 900 of which are in the field, which do all that investigation that results in those ratings. So yeah, you got to make sure that your field, first and foremost, is properly staffed. And I do know they had some pretty high turnover at the division or the state administrator level, if you will. So there's going to be a lot of positions that Derek will have the opportunity to fill or participate in filling. But I suspect, and to your point, each division head, they call them an AA, right, assistant administrator. I think the only AA that's still there when I was there, of which I think there's 7 or 8, is Larry Miner, who runs the policy shop. So yeah, there's been a exit of a lot of institutional knowledge that Derek's going to have to somehow replace and deal with. But the good part is he knows the agency pretty well. As far as it goes to that, 90+% of unrated, that's an issue that the FMCSA, as you know, has been dealing with probably since its inception on how do you get to every new motor carrier. Obviously, you have the new entrant safety audit program, and you do some other things. And again, as you know, they're looking to decide what to do with that rating system. But to fully vet every new motor carrier that comes along robustly enough is always going to be a challenge. And I'm not sure how you accommodate that unless you literally quadruple or so the size of the FMCSA, which we all know is not going to happen.
Yep, money is the thing. We're not gonna expand it with so much, right?
No, although I'll tell you, when I was the acting administrator, my budget was $670 million, about 60% of which was the formula grant funds back to the states. The budget last year was $990 million. So that's over, was that $320 million increase? I'm not sure where that $320 million went because their staffing numbers look pretty similar. But if I were going back in, that's the first thing I would do is look under the hood and see where the $320 million is.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and we're going to bring you back on again maybe at some point, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry about the snafu on the audio. Take care.
Oh, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jim. There's a mystery that could potentially be solved here.
I can see you writing about this next week. Like, where did the $320 million go at the FMCSA? But while we're thinking about writing that article, we're going to bring on Cody. And Cody is actually a custom truck builder, and he put together a truck for Matt's. How are you, Cody?
I'm good. How are you, Rob?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, you're not rubbing steel today, so I'm I don't even recognize you. You don't have blackface on, so
yeah, I'm actually white today.
That's it. So what can you tell us about this truck? Tell us about this truck, and I know you won a bunch of awards for this thing at Matt's, and you kind of put your heart and soul into it. And tell us a little bit about what goes into building this thing.
Yes, sir. So that's a 2024 389 Peterbilt we built for my friend Eddie Homefield at Lacoh Transport. me and him, we've worked together on a few other projects throughout the years, and then when this one come around, it was pretty spectacular. We first started as just a work truck. He really had his own design in his mind with the paint scheme and the way that he kind of envisioned it. Matched the APU to the side where we could get the fuel tanks matching with the def tank on both sides, make it look symmetrical. And that was really in the purpose of going to work. But as you can tell by the photos, we tore all of it apart. That started in chase of the back window, that sleeper configuration. You can't get a back window in from factory. So we were headed in to do that. And at that time, Eddie said, well, let's do something with the interior. So we did a full custom interior collaboration with Spare Time Fab, Randy Martin. It's got an illuminated floor and all the bells and whistles. All the factory plastics were dyed black, trimmed out in red upholstery from Randy, and it really turned out great. It picked up best of show and the limited mileage for the interior and the lighting on it there at Louisville. It's actually back in the shop right here behind me, and we're doing some more work to it. We can't stop once you get started in a project like this, and we've done some cool stuff. We're headed to Route 66 show down in Miami, Oklahoma next week to show all that work off.
Gotcha. So you were a few slots down at Matt's from Troy Massey, and I was interested when I talked to you at Matt's on how you felt about being a few spots down from Troy Massey's truck. Did you have any concern about being 2 or 3 spots down from Troy Massey?
All the concern in the world. Troy Massey and Semi Casual and Brian Martin and the company that donned the first row of Louisville this year put out some tremendous trucks. Caleb Hammett, those guys, they're legends in the game, and I've admired a lot of these icons growing up throughout my young childhood as a truck driving family, and then working my way through the career as a truck builder, and to just be parked next to those guys and to have some of that caliber to show with them is probably it's the first time in my lifetime to go that hard. We've showed a lot of trucks at Louisville and other truck shows, and we've put out a lot of fine rides on the road, but to see that on the red carpet up there next to Troy was quite an honor.
Yeah, it was a good show. You had a lot of competition. So when you took the awards you did, I was pretty proud of it, and I watched you throughout the show. You did an excellent job. Any thoughts on next year? You got anything working on next year? Or are you just going to hit and enjoy being a spectator?
No, we're always grinding for more. There's no chance of stopping here. We've got some cool stuff that we've been working on that hasn't been released yet. And we've got some really neat 589 stuff that's coming out that should get some of these new trucks looking the way they need to be going down the road, get the altitude adjusted, get the face looking right. And I think our new 589 stuff coming out is going to look really good. Hopefully we'll see one of those there next year.
Speaking of 589, Ingrid Brown's coming up next. Do you think yours is going to outdo Ingrid Brown's, or who's going to win in that competition?
That's hard to outdo.
I know, right?
I try to just do our best. We don't never go anywhere thinking we'll win best of show, but we always go everywhere showing our best.
Well, you've got the one difference here is we have different truck drivers, right? So can the driver of whatever you're going to do outdo Ingrid? And I think you're going to have trouble there. So we're going to bring her on next. And I appreciate you coming. You did a beautiful job. So I wanted to bring you on.
Awesome, Rob. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing you around.
Yep. Appreciate it. All right. We've got the legend coming up next. Her name is Ingrid Brown. I don't know that she needs an introduction, but we are bringing her on today to talk about the top violations that Wyoming released for June of this year. And this was a pretty crazy list for me. Ingrid, tell us about yourself like you need an introduction, and we'll go from there.
Hey, you two. It's amazing to be here. I mean, I can't believe I'm sitting here between you two. Hey, Thomas. Good morning or good afternoon, Rob. Yeah, I don't think I need to introduce myself, but I will for anybody that doesn't know me. I'm Ingrid Brown. I've been doing this for be 46 years in December. You may look at me, I'm in the office right now, but I run 5 more reefers for Blackjack Express LLC. We're an open deck company, basically. And I also still drive a truck. Now, I just heard you talking about my truck. Her name is Lucy. It's like, Lucille Ball, the redhead. Well, she's the big red truck. So I'm like,
I know you give me grief about this all the time, and I just cannot get used to calling your truck Lucy. I just can't do it. So I'm going to work on it. I promise you, before we see each other again, I will work on it. But for the purpose of this one, let's talk about the value of a good pre and post trip inspection and how that kind of correlates to Wyoming's violations that came out. There were a lot of violations on here that were 100% preventable. Like one of the top one actually was no federal annual inspection or expired federal annual inspection, which really requires nothing but a sticker and an inspection. So these are a lot of boilerplate, simple, low-hanging fruit items that we could have just simply knocked out. What's the value of a pre and post trip inspection and a good DVR program?
The value of a good pre-trip or post-trip is literally going to be whether you're going to keep the doors open or whether they're going to close. I mean, either or, you're going to be out and, you're not going to have the doors open if you don't have those recorded for audits, safety, that kind of thing. But the biggest reason is for the safety on the highway. The general motoring public safety, other CMV trucks and drivers out there, that's what you're doing it for. And then one of the ones that everybody should think of is for themselves and their families. Without these, you're not going to find those that you have a nail in a tire or that you haven't gone through and made sure that you don't have rubs on chafing on an airline. You're not going to, when you aren't paying attention to these things are things, and when they go bad and they go bad, quick, bad, quick. Anyway, if you don't set up a program for this and you don't implement it from day one, you can't start a program and expect for it to be solid and safe if you decide to run for 10 years and think, I might better catch up on this. We might need to start a program. You need to start it from day one. And you need to make sure, and this is a good start. When Wyoming did these 10, that's a good start for any company to go in and say, hey, this could be a checklist. This could be something that I can use in a monthly safety meeting. And that's something else. Companies, are you doing monthly safety meetings? I'm not talking about sending your drivers a link that opens up a 15-year-old video of somebody hooking a truck up. I don't want to see you hook the truck up. I want to see you making sure that when you hook that truck up, that it's safe. So I think they put these 10 things. There's a lot of challenges up there to make sure that everybody's following it. Because one thing is FMCSA can put you out of service and they can revoke your MC and you're not going to have a company and all this stuff. But it just takes one time of something going wrong and you running over somebody or you losing your life in a truck wreck. You can't be any more blunt than that.
So one of the things that I beat the drum on a lot is I think driver persona has changed a lot. And I kind of narrow it down to like 2005 and drivers that were licensed before 2005, they have a different persona than those that were licensed before 1990. And obviously we've got a way different driver persona now than we're used to. It's no longer the tucked in shirts and the belt buckles. So what's broken with today's safety culture and what are fleets doing wrong and what can we do right to actually make this a better run program?
It first starts in training. Every bit of it starts in training. If their training program is not solid and there's not enough time put into that, and I want to say time, we all know that EODT has requirements that you have to pass, but they don't have the time listed of how many hours you have to do it. You could put hours on it all you want, but nobody's going to, you may have people who learn it faster. You may have people who learn it slower. The thing is they're not teaching them to the point that they learn it. So they're coming out, they're going with trainers, they're talking to other drivers, they're trying to figure it out on their own. 3 months and they're out in their own truck and an 80,000 pound, I think that a lot of it is we get complacent as older drivers. We get complacent. Speaking for myself, both hands in the air on this, y'all. We get complacent. we may think, I looked at that 2 days ago. It was perfectly fine. I'll bypass it when I go by and check something else. When in actually that morning you ended up and caught a line on a deck plate and it chafed it and it cut the line. And, complacency, lack of training, and there is not enough continued education in trucking. Everybody that teaches, that's doctors, nurses, everybody else has a continued education. They have to do maybe 40 hours a year of follow-up of, education. Truck drivers should have to do the same thing. We should all be reminded, because when we get complacent, we don't just forget, we just care not to listen or not to think about it because we forgot it. Being reminded of this stuff, I think that's the difference in all of us. Is you've got the new that need to learn because they need to be trained, right? You have the older drivers like myself that we become complacent and we need to be reminded. So where this all comes together is, I think that we all need to look at, we need better EOD requirements. We need some requirements to make sure that the companies are doing safety trainings on the older drivers, to where you can set up a company policy and do that 40 hours a year on your company drivers.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. And now you have systems with like dual facing dash cams, and some of the older drivers definitely aren't as they don't like these as much, and some new drivers same way. But I think that's a good part of that tailored coaching based on what behaviors you're exhibiting as you drive. That remedial thing goes a long way, because if you're going to do one class a month or one class every 6 months, maybe Ingrid doesn't have a problem with talking on the phone when she goes down the road, so she doesn't need like a full 8-hour defensive driving training. Maybe we just need to get her focused on, hey, we just want to talk to Ingrid about hard cornering or hard braking or close following. So I think some of that goes to the tech that's now available. But even more than that, I like to look at from a mentor environment. I think there's a place for even drivers who have aged out or have medicaled out where they can't get a med card anymore. I think there's a big place for them in terms of a mentor place in our industry. What do you think on the mentor side?
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, you got to figure, I'll be 64 this year. Did I just say that on the air?
34, right?
34.
No, I haven't hit 64 yet. And I always said I was going to be 36 my whole life. So we're going to turn it around and I'm 36 again.
Okay.
Anyway,
I
there you go. Totally agree. I mean, you look at drivers that have disability, that they can't drive, but their hearts and souls are still in doing something to be a part of the community and part of transportation. These are perfect places for them. These people can be utilized as some of these truck driving schools. I know that the private owns a whole lot harder because of finances and monies, but you look at these larger companies, and I don't care who you are, y'all can like pay attention real close, but you guys got the money to start helping putting some mentors to increasing training and really putting an impact on safety. And it really needs to start with the company, and nobody can do anything with it. FMCSA can sit in DC all day long and set regulations and say how it has to be done, but it's the people that literally are doing it and that can make a change of it has their hands in it. So I'm 1,000%. Women in Trucking Association, we have a lot of mentoring and women helping women of everything. And this is another area that we cover, is helping in areas of coming in and learning these things. And there's so many questions. You would not believe the questions we get. Some say, oh gosh, it's kind of a stupid question. There's no stupid question. We heard that. We grew up being told that, and it's true. If it wasn't true, we wouldn't still be hearing it.
I wanted to get your thoughts as well. We're looking at that training aspect, Ingrid. Trucking to me, when I've not been a driver, but when I manage drivers, it feels like it's part job and part lifestyle. So when we're looking at mentorship and training, do you sometimes feel that we do a decent enough job, okay enough to drive the truck safely, but is the mentoring also the lifestyle? I'll give you an example. When I had Team Expedites, brand new first seat drivers who just upgraded after a trainer, half of them are gone within 6 months.
I scream this, and Thomas, I don't know if you remember me saying this. Rob's heard me saying this. I will scream saying this, is you don't have a driver shortage. You have a retention shortage because people don't understand. They hear that they're going to get home time. They hear that all these stories that's going to make them a great truck driver. They get out here and they don't even know how to get a shower. I mean, come on.
No.
Here's the app. Okay, well, what do I do with it? And how much do I pay for it? And, the little things that matter. I said the other day to somebody, I said, how many times in the last 2 years have I seen somebody that just started driving come in a fuel island the wrong way because they have no idea and there's nobody sitting there or the trainer's like not catching them. I mean, they don't get it. Nobody's giving them a lifestyle. Where are you going to wash clothes? If you get sick, what are you going to do on the road? What happens when you don't make that home time that so many miss making that home time of missing anniversaries, birthdays, the whole 9 yards? Lifestyle is not given in reality. And that should literally be part of the training period of this, because I think it could save a lot of people of understanding and take that side of part of the worry out to where they can focus on driving and learning how to operate the truck safely. Stress and stuff like that, whenever you start thinking about, we didn't get that many miles this week. I thought that I was going to make X amount of money. It gets deep. It gets, that's the first thing to me. That's the first thing that I think anybody should be told. It's exactly what the lifestyle is. You're going to be sleeping in a little bitty space.
I think one of the biggest things that I figured out with trucking is you're going to learn 80% of what you need to know actually in the truck. What they teach you everywhere else is probably 20%. Now, speaking of in the truck, what is your perception of FleetTech? I get all kinds of feedback, let's call it that, over in interior cab and front facing FleetTech. What's your perception on FleetTech? Good or bad?
You and I have these conversations all the time about this. I mean, we could do a whole show of you and I and FleetTech. We get into the conversations about front-facing cameras are absolutely a must. It's not just for insurance purposes. It's not just to get somebody's butt out of a crack for an insurance claim. It's literally to make sure that how maybe something happened to someone's life, or those kind of things. There's so many facets to it that I can't find a con of why you would not have a forward-facing camera. Now we're going to go to inward-facing cameras. Rob, you and I go at this. I have no problem with inward-facing cameras. The only problem I have is that when I stop, that camera is going out off kapunk. There was a big discussion recently about this, and why do you not want the camera? No, we want to see what's inside of our truck. We own that truck. And I'm like, no, you're not. That's no, it doesn't work that way. I don't eat with my mouth closed, so I'm sitting in the front seat all the time when I eat. Well, you're not going to, it's just crazy. And everybody's like, oh, those are just notions. Well, possibly so, but we've also seen it happen. Through some fleets that choose to whatever. But I think that we're missing the point when I'm talking about this is that the inward-facing cameras are a huge thing to safety. It's a big thing of how do we improve safety, not by dinging a driver, not by firing a driver, not by, making it a negative thing. I think there's been so much negative made about the inward-facing camera. We all hate them. I think that it should be a positive way, and there should be guidelines and things about that, so that's cameras. Other stuff on that.
I think one of the good things about it is, a lot of times I look at it from a driver perspective, like it's a good thing for me. Like it's protected me, not just the carrier. But I can say that because in June, I got a ticket in Hardee County, West Virginia for going 4 miles an hour over in a Kenworth. And I had to go to court 3 times for this ticket, and I eventually beat the ticket with telematics data. So
you were driving a Kenworth was the problem.
Right, see, that was it. It was just so flashy that they couldn't help but pull me over. So We're talking about the Wyoming. We started with the Wyoming violations, the top 10 with them. What's the number one you see in your fleet? Your fleet is a little different. It is reefer. It's not your typical over-the-road dock bumping fleet. What's the number one you see there with other extra components that involve reefer?
And this is going to be completely what you're not expecting me to say. I'm going to say what I'm seeing. Don't roll your eyes at me like that. I'm going to say what we see. Sorry. I'm going to say what's literally happening around my trucks right now. I'm having tires blown, people. I mean, it's crazy stuff of car tires blown going underneath the fronts of them. I'm having, things like that. The heat is the worst thing we're facing on any truck right now. And, we all know tires gain pressure whenever you're in extreme heat. We're at 100-degree weather plus 120, 122 out west right now. Right now, that is my really big focus on all of our trucks, my reefers, is tire pressure. And also making sure I give them the speed limits that they can run in these temperatures. Because if you have a tire go, we all know how that is. I'm so small that's my biggest fear in life is blowing a tire. I've blown one, don't want to blow another one. So tire pressure and making sure that you watch the heat. That's my number one thing that we're really, really watching on everything right now.
Perfect. Ingrid, thank you so much for hopping on the show. Great getting to see you again and catch up. Always an absolute pleasure. Folks want to learn more, got about less than a minute. What's the best way to check out what you're working on? And if people want to get in touch?
You can find me at Ingrid Brown on all the social media outlets. You can also look under Blackjack Express LLC.com, or you can just Google and find us. I mean,
she's everywhere, Thomas. What she's saying is she's everywhere.
Running my mouth everywhere. Yeah, I'm talking somebody, I promise you.
Ingrid, thank you
so much. Good
to
see you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
That was a fun show.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of time left. Final things, the FreightTech Awards, the FT100 nominations are open. Put in your nominations for the FreightTech 100. Then coming up, we will narrow it down to 25 with our third-party team of pickers, and they'll be announced at F3, the Future of Freight Festival, coming in October. New time. Check it out. Live.freightwaves.com is going to be the big one. Rob, final thoughts as well. Been a wonderful show. Got a little bit of time left.
Final thoughts, make sure you're not getting violations in whatever state you're in. This talk wasn't exclusive to Wyoming. We'll wait and see what happens with the FMCSA Administrator. And
let it rip. Yeah,
let it rip.
Beat the heat. Watch your tires. Don't leave animals in a car, and don't let your tires overinflate and explode. I had drivers in Vegas that happened way too much. That's a wrap for this show. Thank you all so much for listening, whether it's live, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find What the Truck. Sign up for it, like, and subscribe. Absolute pleasure. I'm Thomas Wasson. This is Rob Carpenter. We'll see you again soon.